Hi and welcome to The Winning Factor. I'm Alan Aitken, and on this show each week we take a look at some upcoming races in Hong Kong and try to isolate an element of the race we might look back on later as having been a path to finding the winner. Well, it's Saturday racing in Hong Kong this weekend. Sha Tin for 10 races, and the first race we're going to take a look at is race 9, where our winning factor is the map. Now this is a nice race on the card, Class 2, plenty of decent talents here, and plenty of horses who will have fans in the race. Fantastic Treasure, all the better for one run from an injury break. Navis 2 always has fans in these kinds of races. Beauty Fit didn't have a lot of luck at his last start. Winner Method racing well, so they're all chances, but I think the major players here are Beauty Live from the Frankie Law stable and Bazinga from the Tony Cruz yard. And that's where I'm going to put my spotlight. First of all, we're going to take a look at the latest from Beauty Live, and this is his Class 3 win last start. Now this is race 689. Beauty Live, he's in the familiar pink and black colours of the Beauty horses. He's drawn low, jumps well, and gets straight into a nice position with the Private Rocket out in front by a good margin, but not really setting much of a pace, a little bit deceptive that. And they go quite steadily to the home turn, then sprint hard down the straight. And Private Rocket, well, he gives a good kick, but not good enough. Beauty Live ultimately gathers him in, gets the better of him and the others around him, although conceding all of them plenty of pounds in weight. A week later, also in Class 3, we saw Bazinga's latest offering, where he was gallant in defeat. This is race 709. He's in green and white colours, drawn inside, and Bazinga jumps well, gets a nice run trailing what is a generous speed. In fact, if we have a look at the heat map, this was really set up for a horse in his position in the run. Solid mid-race pace, everything set up exactly right, and no excuses. But he does have to give away 9 pounds in the saddle to a very smart 3-year-old Brilliant Way, who just manages to hold him off at the finish. So we have two quite similar propositions here, both lightly raced, promising horses. They're both coming up in grade from Class 3. One of them off a win, and that's one of our favourite winning factors, rising in grade off a win. And the other horse coming up off a second, and we have noted in the past that the strike rate is slightly less for horses rising in grade if they haven't got there by winning. So certainly that is against Bazinga. But I think the real trump card here that he's got is the map. So when we take a look at that, he's again drawn low and should slide straight into a beautiful position trailing the likely leader Buddies. Very similar to the position that we saw him in, I think, in that video replay. While Beauty Live, well, this time he's drawn out wider. I think he might also eventually get to a nice spot following the leader, but he will have to do some work early to get around a couple of the horses underneath him, and that just allows Bazinga, I think, the luxury of a more relaxing first half to the race. So the tip in race 9, Bazinga. His winning factor, the map. Really don't think there's a great deal between these two horses, but just the fact that Bazinga is going to be able to switch off for most of the race and save himself for the run down the home straight is going to push things in his favour. The other race I want to look at, well, you probably guessed already, is race 10, the final race on the card, where our winning factor is the draw. And this is a very competitive Class 3, quite a few winning chances. And from the top, well, there's Maldives, who's been racing very well, running ahead. He was an eye-catcher at his Hong Kong debut and gets blinkers this time. Private Rocket, who we saw in that previous replay, very consistent, ready to win, and Red Titan both look like they're going to appreciate a move up in distance to 1400 metres. Kinda Cool, an interesting transfer, having his first run for Tony Cruz. And last but not least, the lightly raced 3-year-old Voyage Bubble from the red-hot form yard of Ricky Yu. But the horse that I'm putting the spotlight on here is Maldives, and he's a very consistent horse, and we're going to go back 3 starts to his most recent effort over the Sha Tin 1400 metres that he will attempt on Saturday. Now this is back in April. He's in gate 10 in grey with dark blue colours, and Blake Shin, his rider, has to take him back to the rear here in a race without a lot of pressure rather than be caught wide. So you see on the heat map really just a sprint from the top of the straight, which isn't very helpful to a horse who gets back like Maldives. And Shin has to ride him for luck. He weaves between horses and Maldives flashes up but just fails. And the postscript to that race was that Shin threw in a protest as Maldives was struck over the nose by the whip of the winning rider in the final stages. So altogether nothing helping him there in terms of draw, tempo, or getting a whack over the nose when he least expected it. So certainly a good effort there from Maldives. Now the thing that I want to point out with him though is that was gate 10. And he's had a poor run of luck with barriers recently, his last 3 starts from 10, 12 and 9. And I wanted to take a look at his career, looking at him from draws like he has this weekend from gate 4. And when we take a look, he's had about half his starts from good draws, and it's crucial to his fortunes, as you can see on this table. Now, people call him quirky. They call him a lot of other things besides that are not as complimentary as that even, but this is Maldives' record with draws lower than barrier 5. He's never failed to earn prize money and never been beaten very far in any of those attempts. So despite him being a horse who gets back in the field, and people often discount the value of draws for those horses, it does seem to matter to him, and this Saturday he gets exactly what he wants. When we take a look at the map for this race, it isn't true of some of his rivals that they're getting what they need. Red Titan, Voyage Bubble, they're drawn right out on the outside, and even a slightly awkward draw for Ready to Win. The speedy 8 trigrams, stablemate of Maldives in fact, backs up from his 1200 metre win last week, leading all the way, and he should easily lead these and set a decent pace again despite his wide gate, and I think a good tempo certainly in favour of Maldives as well. So the tip in race 10, Maldives. His winning factor, the draw. He's very consistent regardless of how his races work out. He rarely runs a bad race, but we have seen on that table of draws from his past runs how important it is to him to get the best out of him. He does need a draw. He gets that on Saturday and also gets a tempo that I think will suit him. So he looks the one to beat. Well, that's it from the winning factor this week. Good luck on Saturday. We'll see you next time.